Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Dark Shares Views on Gemmy Master Animatronics, and today what I have to show you is just a really quick, short video, basically just kind of like a guide on how to remove the body shells. You don't always have to remove the body shells, but sometimes you do. If you're doing maybe a speaker on the older ones, you have to remove the body shell. Sometimes you can get away with it, just slip your hand in there. If you have to replace a piece on the internal mechanism here, you got to remove the body shell. Like if a shoulder bracket, which rarely ever happens, yellows, you got to remove this body shell in order to get to it. Actually, the Deadeye Drake I just purchased off Tyler, the entire body shell is gone. It's just shattered. It's extremely brittle. You can just snap it literally by pressing on it. So it needs a new one. Luckily, this Vigor over here is a nice parts donor, and that's what I'm using to replace the body shell with. So this is going to be it. I already started. I didn't even think to make a video, but I figured I would. So first step is you remove the 4 screws that are in these corners. Every single corner on the shoulder has an indent like this, and there's a screw. So there's one there, and then 2 in the back exactly across from it. Then once you do that, slide it to one way. You pick it up, slide it to one way. Then this arm, which is usually the for the Butlers or Drake, Vigor, all that, this, and even Shivers, I believe, is the same setup, has this piece right here, which is held on by 4 screws. One there. This, sometimes you gotta use a flathead to pry it up because they get pretty jammed on there. Right off. Then the arm slides right out. So this is for the typical static arm that holds the Butler trays and all that. Then pick it up, slide it over to the other side. Now, for this arm, it's 2 screws. You'll see there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 screws here. You only need to remove 2, which is this one and this one. So let me go ahead and do that, and then I'll be right back. Okay, guys, so I'm back, and as you can see, I removed the arm, which is this piece right here. It just slides off. Now, this is another thing to cover. If you're doing a Leatherface, his arm is snapped. They 9 times out of 10 snap right here on these 2 pieces. Now, a lot of people sit there with JB Weld, epoxy, hot glue, crazy glue, all that nonsense and try to fix it. Well, if you have a donor life size, or if you can find a 3D parts replicator, send this piece to them, and they'll be able to do it. How you take these out, you come underneath here. There are 3 screws where you remove that plate, and these slide out going inwards. And then you just put the new ones right in, and then no more snapped arm. So, right after you do that, next I would recommend is removing the speaker, because now that you have all this play in the body shell, you can find a comfortable spot to slip your arm in there from the side. Typically is what I do. Unscrew the 4 screws in the front, slide it out. With this one, I'm just going to rip it out because I don't care about the wires. This thing's garbage. But what you could possibly do with it is take it and zip tie it to one of these springs so that it doesn't hang there, because you don't want to put any tension on these wires, or else they could come off the speaker, or they could break a part of the speaker, which is this piece right here, and then the speaker's then garbage. So give me 1 second while I go ahead and do that. Like I said, I'm not going to be zip tying mine. I'm just going to rip it out because I don't care. Okay, guys, so now the speaker's not there. You can see I can put my hand in there, no speaker. So now this is the really fun part, and the best part about this Vigor is he does not collapse. I broke his locking mechanism because I was, I had to properly demonstrate how to bring it up. So he does not collapse. So now what I have to do is I have to get a step ladder or just hover over. And this is how you got to do it next. You got to move the body shell again to one side, because you cannot slip it over. It's impossible to slip over unless you want to cut down here, which I would never recommend doing. But what you got to do, you got to remove these 2 screws right here, which actually go to, if you look on the side, or actually I can show you from here. They go to this spring along with the metal pole. That's a part of the collapse mech. That's how that's held on. And then you pick it up, bring it over to here. These 2 screws. Then what you're going to want to do is put your foot on the base, and then one hand here under this shoulder and one hand under this one, and you pop it up. Once you do that, you'll be able to kind of slide it out. I'll show you what it looks like after I pop it off. Okay, guys, so that was pretty much a workout. But once you get it off, you'll see that this piece is what went on there. I had to use a hammer kind of tap it off and then pop it off initially. But now what you're going to do is you have to, I don't really think, for this one, it depends on which side the wire is located on, which this is the main harness that runs all the way from inside of the base, which is where the circuit board is, all the way up to here, which then ventures off with all the wires with the mini harnesses to connect to the speaker and all the head movements and all that. So now what you're going to want to do, slide this out from whichever side the harness is on. So in my case, it would be the right side, or the body's left side. Slide this out through here, this hole, and then it should be completely free. Then you just slip it over. So I don't have my tripod with me, so I can't demonstrate how to do it, but I'll show you what I did after I physically do it. So there we go. It's now slipped out. Literally all I've got to do for the most part is pick it up over and do a little bit of like a twist to kind of get this free. Never do this. Never just have it hang. Wires are going to pull off. It's going to be a disaster. But this thing's fried. I'm literally parting the whole thing out for all the mechanisms and everything. So in this case, it doesn't matter. But never do that. Always try to have a second person with you if you can't do it by yourself. And hold it. Have somebody hold it. Hold this up. Put a table next to it. Prop it on something. Because this is what's going to happen. It's just going to sit there and drop like that. And they're going to have wires pull off. And it's just going to be a nightmare. But let me finish getting the shell off, and then I'll show you what it looks like after. Okay, so this is exactly why I say to have someone there to hold it. As soon as I took that body shell off, that just slammed and hit the ground. Like I said, in my case, it doesn't matter, but if this was one that I was trying to restore and, you know, I cared about, that would have not ended up well. But, so yeah, there's the speaker, shoulder piece. Now, I'm going to be putting him back together without a chest plate or body shell on, just for the sake of that I have one other one, but there's no point in using it on him as he does nothing. So I'm probably going to take the board, remove all the good components, keep them, and keep that wire harness, because that harness is still a good harness. Keep all the mechanisms, shoulder pieces, collapse mech, probably put them away in a box. Either that or use them as a static and put a outfit on him or something for Halloween. You know, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with him yet, but the body shell came in handy for my Drake. Like I said, you can, if you need one for parts, a spare life-size body is always great. Or if you're doing work on one of these, you got to replace the speaker, you got to do something that requires you to remove the body shell, like a butler breathing mech. You have to remove the body shell if you want to replace the gear. The belt, you don't have to remove it, but if you're going to replace the gear, you usually can't get to it without removing the body shell. I mean, you can do it, but it's a pain. So that's basically it, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this helped you. Let me know in the comments what you do differently than I just showed you, and that's pretty much it. So I'll see you all next week.